State of Cannabis.
This is the State of Cannabis News Digest, a roundup of this week's key developments in the cannabis industry. Our top stories.
This week, federal cannabis reform hits another roadblock as Congress moves to block rescheduling efforts. At the same time, the government ends its decades-long cannabis supply deal with the University of Mississippi, marking a quiet but historic shift in federal research. Across the states, a mixed picture. Some are expanding access, like Kentucky, Minnesota, and Delaware, while others, like Arkansas, Florida, and Illinois, tighten rules or face gridlock. Plus, big moves in California, New Jersey, and Nebraska show just how diverse cannabis policy has become nationwide. Stay with us for the full breakdown, across federal policy, state reform, and everything in between. This is your weekly cannabis update.
And now here is the deeper look at the key events in the cannabis world this week.
This week, the national outlook on cannabis in the U.S. got a bit bleaker. The House Appropriations Subcommittee passed a spending bill that would prevent the Department of Justice from using federal funds to reschedule or deschedule cannabis under the Controlled Substances Act. This effectively blocks the process started under the Biden administration to move marijuana from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3. While the bill keeps protections in place for state medical marijuana programs and industrial hemp research, it also introduces stricter penalties for selling cannabis near schools, colleges, playgrounds, and public housing. Though the language passed subcommittee review, it still must go through full committee markup and survive potential amendments. Whether it becomes law remains to be seen. But for now, cannabis reform at the federal level remains in limbo.
The National Institute on Drug Abuse has officially ended its cannabis production order with the University of Mississippi, concluding a 56-year partnership that made Ole Miss the sole supplier of federally sanctioned marijuana for research. This shift comes as the DEA has expanded its list of approved growers to include at least 7 others, following years of complaints about the quality of Ole Miss's product and calls for more robust research standards. Although the university's contract remains technically active through 2028, the decision not to issue a new task order effectively removes Ole Miss from the immediate supply chain. The move may indicate broader reforms in how cannabis is regulated at the federal level, especially as pressure mounts to reschedule marijuana and close the research gap between state legal products and federally available research material. Despite losing its supply role, Ole Miss remains deeply involved in cannabis science, heading up the newly launched NIH-funded Resource Center for Cannabis and Cannabinoid Research. The center, in collaboration with Washington State University, aims to improve research infrastructure and empower future studies.
And now, a word from our partners.
If you're a medical cannabis patient or thinking about becoming one, check out statecannabis.org. It's your trusted resource for state-specific info on cannabis laws, access to discounted medical marijuana certifications, and guides to help you stay compliant and informed. Just visit statecannabis.org, choose your state, and get the help you need, fast and easy.
In Arkansas, hemp-derived cannabinoids like Delta-8 and Delta-9 THC are now officially illegal following a federal court mandate issued this week. Attorney General Tim Griffin says this clears up any confusion and allows the state to fully enforce its 2023 law known as Act 629, which bans intoxicating hemp products. Arkansas lawmakers and health officials raised concerns over safety, especially regarding their appeal to children. With the injunction now lifted by the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Eighth Circuit, businesses selling illegal hemp products face potential criminal penalties, and consumers are also warned.
In Texas, the hemp industry is gearing up for a special legislative session that starts on Monday. Lawmakers are considering 2 new proposals: one to prevent the sale of hemp-derived THC products to anyone under 21, and another to set rules for potency, synthetic ingredients, and enforcement.
The state of Illinois remains locked in a heated debate over hemp-derived intoxicants. Despite growing public concern and bipartisan interest, lawmakers once again failed to pass regulations in 2025, leaving the market unregulated. Governor J.B. Pritzker and cannabis business leaders argue that this legal loophole endangers children and undercuts regulated cannabis businesses, while hemp farmers insist that with the right standards, their industry can safely coexist. Proposals like HB 1 and HB 4293 failed to gain enough traction, and federal lawmakers may soon step in.
Are you in the cannabis industry? Then you need statecannabis.org. It's more than a directory. It's a powerful platform to connect with local customers, stay on top of your state's evolving cannabis laws, and promote your business directly to people who care. Advertise your products, showcase your services, and grow your presence right where it matters. Visit statecannabis.org and click on your state to get started.
Kentucky has officially entered the next phase of its medical cannabis program. On July 11th, Armory Kentucky LLC began cultivating the state's first legal cannabis crop in Mayfield. Governor Andy Beshear, who pushed for the early rollout of the program, called it a major milestone for Kentuckians dealing with chronic and debilitating conditions. Though more than 11,000 have already received medical cannabis cards, dispensaries remain closed, as the state requires all cannabis to be grown locally. The beginning of cultivation sets the stage for testing and processing facilities to follow soon. Meanwhile, controversy swirls around the license lottery process, with a lawsuit challenging the fairness of how licenses were awarded, most going to out-of-state operators. Despite this, officials maintain that the program is on track to deliver access to patients before the end of the year.
Florida's medical marijuana program, which serves nearly 1 million people, has taken a controversial turn. Senate Bill 2514, signed by Governor Ron DeSantis, allows state health officials to suspend or permanently revoke a patient or caregiver's cannabis access, not just upon conviction, but upon being charged with certain drug offenses. The law, which takes effect on July 1st, has prompted backlash from medical professionals and advocates who argue that it undermines the will of voters who approved medical marijuana as a constitutional right. Critics also claim the policy is politically motivated and possibly influenced by pharmaceutical giants eager to limit cannabis competition.
Minnesota's legal cannabis market is beginning to take root, slowly but deliberately. On July 22nd, the Office of Minnesota's Cannabis Management will conduct a new lottery for retail cannabis licenses, including a second chance for social equity applicants who weren't selected in June. Across the state, people are preparing to open shops after navigating rigorous zoning laws and licensing requirements. The first micro-retail applicant has already passed inspection. Meanwhile, the city of St. Joseph is exploring a municipally run dispensary, in a move that could generate local revenue and offer pharmaceutical alternatives to residents. With zoning playing a key role in determining how many dispensaries can operate and where, Minnesota's rollout is becoming a case study in how to build a legal cannabis market with fairness, safety, and local oversight at its core.
Delaware's long-awaited recreational cannabis market is finally set to open on August 1st. Following 2 years of legislation and regulatory prep, more than 125 businesses have received conditional licenses to cultivate, manufacture, test, and sell marijuana to adults over 21. Despite state legalization, many towns have chosen to ban marijuana businesses locally. But state officials, including Delaware Marijuana Commissioner, hope to change minds through education and transparency. Governor Matt Meyer says the new industry will strengthen public services and fund programs to support communities impacted by past cannabis arrests. As Delaware steps into the legal cannabis economy, The focus is on safety, equity, and access.
This week, the California State Fair in Sacramento made history, not with deep-fried treats or livestock competitions, but with cannabis seeds. In partnership with Embark, Humboldt Seed Company distributed 15,000 cannabis seeds for just 1 cent each. It's a first-of-its-kind event, marking the largest legal cannabis seed giveaway at a public venue in the United States. Under California law, adults can grow up to 6 cannabis plants for personal use, and this giveaway is fully compliant with state regulations. The goal is simple: normalize home cultivation and bring cannabis into the same realm as backyard gardening.
Love cannabis? Whether you're into the culture, the products, or just staying informed, statecannabis.org has something for you. Browse your state's latest cannabis laws, find local dispensaries, check out CBD and hemp info, and connect with what's happening near you. Just go to statecannabis.org, click on your state, and dive in.
New Jersey's cannabis landscape just changed in a big way. After this week, the state's Cannabis Regulatory Commission approved the first 4 consumption lounge endorsements, granting permission for adults 21 and over to legally consume cannabis in designated spaces at 4 licensed dispensaries. The state has outlined strict safety, ventilation, and operational guidelines, and no food, alcohol, or tobacco can be sold on-site. But patrons will be able to bring food or have it delivered. Medical marijuana patients can also bring in their own cannabis from licensed dispensaries.
In Pennsylvania, a bipartisan effort to legalize recreational marijuana is gaining momentum with the introduction of multiple bills in the state legislature. House Bill 20 introduces a plan to establish a regulated cannabis market overseen by the newly proposed Keystone Cannabis Authority. At the same time, a parallel bill emphasizes that high taxation and regulation must be balanced to keep consumers out of the illicit market. While the Pennsylvania governor has pointed to the state's lost tax revenue and rising demand, opponents in the GOP-controlled Senate remain hesitant, complicating the path to legalization. Still, with bipartisan cooperation, strong voter support, and Pennsylvania's neighbors reaping economic benefits, lawmakers face growing pressure to move forward.
In Nebraska, where cannabis legalization remains caught in a tangle of politics and slow implementation, one governing body has taken the lead. The Omaha Tribe of Nebraska unanimously approved a sweeping cannabis law that legalizes both medical and recreational marijuana on tribal lands. Known as Title 51, the new code creates a full regulatory commission, patient access system, adult use sales structure, and tax revenue plan dedicated to tribal healthcare, education, and economic development. The move comes as Nebraska's voter-approved medical cannabis law faces bureaucratic delay and legal threats from the state's attorney general.
The New York State Office of Cannabis Management has issued a recall for 3 cannabis flower products sold in state-licensed dispensaries under the Harvest brand. The affected products were tested by Lexichrome Analytical Laboratory, which has since been banned from cannabis testing in the state. Upon retesting, one of the 3 batches was found to contain pesticide levels above the state's safety threshold. While no injuries or illnesses have been reported, the recall was issued out of an abundance of caution.
This was the State of Cannabis News Digest, available weekly. You can listen to us on all main podcast platforms. To make sure you don't miss out on the latest updates and in-depth analysis of the cannabis industry, be sure to subscribe to our podcast. By subscribing, you'll get notifications for each new episode, helping you stay informed and ahead in the ever-evolving cannabis market. Join us next Saturday for more insights. Until then, keep thriving and stay green.